Traps, a core part of every Minecraft server. Everyone has at least once tried to blow up a friend for stealing their diamonds. But for these traps there are a ton of possible designs and mechanics, yet all of them are flawed in one way or another. So, in this video, we're going to explore what goes into making the deadliest trap in Minecraft. And at the end of the video, we will show the best design for the deadliest trap in all of Minecraft. What is the perfect trap? Let's first explain what that means. The perfect trap. So many people probably have many different definitions of the perfect trap. Some say the perfect trap has the purpose of containing someone. Some say the purpose of a trap is to scare the victim without killing them. And while I don't think any of these definitions are necessarily wrong, we will focus on the definition of dictionary.com, being a trap, a structure, place or situation where there is an imminent risk of death. But before we get into designing this trap, we need to set some criteria to make sure this trap is actually perfect. Let's start with the most simple one. Criteria 1. It has to be deadly. The player who activates the trap has to die. Not just deal a certain amount of damage, but die to the point of the respawn screen. Criteria 2. And continuing on the first criteria, there cannot be a single way of preventing death in the trap. Totems of undying, potions, the best netherite armor and even an inventory full of enchanted golden apples. Everything is fair game. Criteria number 3. The trap has to be hidden and it has to be a surprise. This is not very necessary, but if everyone can see from kilometers away that it's a trap, the chance that it will be effective is very small. And criteria number 4. Although this is not vital for the trap, it can be important to give the victim as little time to react as possible. The less time they have to respond, the bigger the chance they'll die. So now that we know what we are looking for in the trap, let's get into the design. To make the trap deadly, we need to have a source of damage. These are all the possible sources of damage in Minecraft, but not all of them are suitable for the deadliest trap. For example, the most obvious one, TNT. Although this is very effective in entry-level traps like this one with skulk sensor, it just doesn't do the trick for the perfect trap. A set of armor or a totem of undying can render the whole trap useless. And so is the problem with many others. Instant damage potions can be countered by good armor and a totem. Fall damage can be clutched, and mobs are simply just not reliable or fast enough. Fire damage, like through fire, fireballs, lava or magma blocks, can be quite effective, but potion of fire resistance can completely counter the whole trap. Stat damage, like hunger, drowning, freezing, is simply too slow and can also easily be countered. Lightning seems like a viable option. It could deal great amount of damage, and channeling tridents in combination with a lightning rod can spawn a lot of lightning continuously. But sadly, the area of a lightning strike is just too small. This trap would also only work during thunderstorms, and with full netherite, the damage is negligible. And while firework can also deal a lot of damage by crafting them with more stars, they do not deal damage through blocks, and a dispenser in the open would not make for a great surprise. A more promising method could be falling blocks, like an anvil or stalactite. Making these blocks fall from a great height can deal enormous amounts of damage, but once again, rule number 2 ruins the fun. A totem of undying just rules out these single blow damage sources. Similarly, an arrow cannon could be very effective. An arrow cannon works by greatly accelerating an arrow with TNT. The faster an arrow moves, the more damage it will do. But even the strongest arrow cannon I could find, powered by over 160 TNT, which does over 4 full rows of hearts and damage, could not even kill a player with a potion of Turtle Master. A potion that can reduce damage up to 80%. That isn't even including the amount of arrows it would take to blow through all the totems or golden hearts. Seeing this, you might begin to wonder if the perfect trap is even possible. It seems like there's always some potion that can counter the effect. And if there isn't a potion, a totem could save the player easily. Yet, there's still a kind of damage we have not yet explored. It's a category I call maintenance damage. The category of damage that is made to enforce the rules of the game. So, void damage is a kind of damage we are surely all familiar with. But just to summarize, whenever a player is below Y level of minus 128, they will take 2 full hearts of damage every half a second. What's special about void damage is that it ignores everything the player does. A totem doesn't work, armor doesn't reduce damage, and even the strongest Turtle Master potion can't slow it. This seems perfect for our trap. It would guarantee death if someone got down there. But sadly, even this damage source isn't perfect. Especially looking at criteria 3 and 4. The player can't know it's coming, and they can't get too much time to respond. Dropping someone from sea level to minus 128 would simply take too long, and the player could just fly up and deflect the trap. So that would just leave us with one last option. Entity grabbing. So this might be a little more unknown to some people, so let me explain. The more entities are in a small space, the more lag the players and the server experience. Whenever there are more than 24 entities on a single block, every animal, mob, player that gets added onto the total will start taking about 3 full hearts of damage every half a second. Although this amount can vary based on factors like the amount of entities and what entities are used. Entity grabbing can be more useful than void damage, as the entities can be placed wherever the builder of the trap desires it to be. The perfect trap. And after tens of hours of testing all these different damage sources, I landed on this final trap design. So a player approaching this trap won't think anything of it. It looks like just any other patch of grass, but while the player walks up to the diamond block, a scork sensor detects them approaching. But nothing happens yet, so the player just mines the diamond and all of a sudden... Yeah, that might have been a little too fast. Let's slow down a little bit. So, what the player didn't know is that the scork sensor did activate something. The signal was run all the way down to this TNT cannon. And before you start commenting about what I just explained and how TNT is just not good enough in a trap, allow me to explain. Because what I said was that TNT is a terrible damage source in traps. But besides damage, TNT also deals a ton of knockback. So when the scork sensor activated, this line of repeaters started ticking while the TNT cannon was igniting. When the line reaches the end, it ignites a TNT minecart right under the player. This will blow up the ground the player is standing on. Right after this ground is gone, a ton of TNT ignites right above the player. This huge amount of TNT gives the player an insane boost downwards, blasting them into this pit, full of minecarts. If the explosion or fall damage didn't yet kill the victim, the entity cramming will. And no matter how many potions or totem the player has, they will eventually die in the minecarts.
Yeah, no, this isn't it.
Wait, what?
Like I said, this isn't it. This is a useless trap.
This is Malacracy. You might not know much of his work, but behind the scenes he played important roles in big prisons, including my own. He's one of the best redstoners I know, and he was willing to take a look at my trap.
I mean, look at this. First of all, this thing is horribly slow. I could mine the diamond block and be gone before it activates. Then second of all, it's unreliable. If the player steps just half a block too far to the right, they get blown totally out of this whole trap. And not to forget that you don't even meet your own criteria. You can just fly out of this trap or throw an ender pearl. Place lava to destroy all the minecarts, and if they just eat enchanted golden apples, they can destroy all the minecarts before they die. And what if they just fall on the TNT chute? What about immunity frames? This isn't the best trap at all.
And Minnow had a point. If I wanted to create the truly perfect trap, I couldn't have these weaknesses and chance-based factors be a core part of my trap. So, we started designing together to create another trap. One trap that would give the player not a single chance to even respond, let alone defend themselves. The one trap to rule them all. So, with Milo on my side, we got back to the drawing board, and combining the best concepts we had, we landed on this design. This hallway might not look too threatening, but don't be fooled. Walking in this hallway will result in definite and unavoidable death in a matter of seconds. So let's see how this trap works. Slowly this time. The soon-to-be victim walks down this hallway. When the floor pops up, player gets pushed onto this reduced portal block. And this might confuse some people, since normally, whenever you enter a portal, you spawn on this obsidian platform. How could you make a trap here without killing everyone coming through the portal? And that's a very valid question, in the case of a normal end portal. But this case is different, because of a weird glitch Milo showed me, where the player, upon being pushed through the portal in a specific way, doesn't spawn on the obsidian platform, but on the same coordinates as the overworld portal, somewhere in the void. This on itself is not a bad trap. The player will fall to their death in the void eventually. But that isn't good enough for what we need. We need their death to be inevitable. They immediately start falling into the void. But on their way to the void, they fall through these tripwire hooks. And the moment these tripwires get activated, they power these rails, upon which approximately 300 TNT minecarts are located. The powering of these rails launches these TNT minecarts into the blast chambers. And because this happens so fast, the player will still be in there. A huge explosion with an immense amount of knockback power happens right above the player, launching the player over 1700 blocks down, far into the damage zone. The player will start taking damage, and they can still try to fly up or eat golden apples. But at this point, there's nothing that can save the player anymore. Every potion effect or armor is useless. The player is launched way too far to make it back up before the void damage gets to them. And within seconds of ignition of the TNT, the player takes the last bit of damage, and the trap has successfully done its job.